Hello everyone, thank you for joining in. I'm so glad you joined today. Today we're going to think about writing a little bit more. So if you can, grab a piece of paper and something to write with, or if you have designated a notebook as a notebook strictly for writing, fantastic, go ahead and grab that. And if you're using paper, maybe we can just start keeping our writing papers in one spot so that they're all together. Okay, so once you have your paper and something to write with, I wanted to talk to you about one way writers get ideas. So one thing I've noticed with my own children and also myself is sometimes when we sit down to write, it's hard to think of what to write about. Sometimes our brains just freeze. Has that ever happened to you? And so we know that writers are in charge of coming up with their own ideas for writing. And this is because writers write what matters most to them. So in our heads, we have to think like, what's mattering most to me right now? So one thing I thought would help us kind of think about that more together is thinking about specific places. So we're going to do a little of this work together today. So I want you to think of a place where you spend a lot of time. A place that you know very, very, very well. So I'm going to think of a few out loud. I'm thinking like the playground at school. We spend a lot of time at the playground. Even in our classroom, we spend a lot of time in our classroom. I'm thinking of spaces at home. I'm thinking of my backyard. We spend a lot of time outside. I'm thinking about our kitchen. For some reason, we spend a lot of time in the kitchen. It seems to be where everyone gathers. So go ahead, think through for a minute and decide on one specific place. You got one? Okay, so go ahead and take your piece of paper and just jot down that place. So for me, I'm gonna think a little bit more about my kitchen. Because like I said, we spend a lot of time in our kitchen. And the next thing we're gonna do is just quickly sketch that place. So you don't have to do a lot of detail, just do a quick sketch. So I'm gonna work on mine, go ahead and work on yours. And it doesn't have to be anything fantastic. I am not artistic at all. So I'm just gonna kind of do a quick outline. I'm gonna do a bird's eye view, so it's like looking down in the kitchen. I'm gonna put a couple labels on mine because like I said, I'm not that artistic, so it's gonna be hard to tell what it is, but this is just for me anyways. Take about 30 more seconds, add just a few more details. Okay, go ahead and pause for a minute and you can go back to this later. That's the great thing about keeping all your writing work together is you can always go back and add more. So let me share my kitchen sketch. And remember, I said I am not an artist by any means, but if you were kind of looking down, bird's eye view of my kitchen, this is kind of what you might see. So you can see this is my whole kitchen. We have a sink over here and there's a window looking out to our backyard. We have a counter right here. Our refrigerator's over here. Like I said, I can go back and add many details later. And then I have our kitchen table's over here, and on one side there's a bench, and on the other side there's 4 different chairs. So you can see, quick sketch of a place where we spend a lot of time. The next thing I'm gonna think about is like, I'm gonna pick one place, one spot within the kitchen, one spot where a lot of action happens. So I'm gonna think about the kitchen table because we do a lot of family gatherings at the kitchen table. My girls do homework at the kitchen table. A lot of stuff goes down at the kitchen table. So I'm gonna choose the table, and all I'm gonna do is jot down table here. And then I'm just gonna start listing things that happen at the table. Like I said, homework. I can also think of memories from that table. One thing I remember is one time my girls they had friends over and asked if they could play musical chairs in the kitchen, and I was downstairs folding some laundry, and so of course I said, sure, play musical chairs. And next thing you know, I heard a huge crash and screaming and crying, and I went upstairs, and one of their friends had fallen because they were playing musical chairs by standing on top of the chairs and going from chair to chair to chair. And so one of the little girls, the chair slipped and she fell and she cut her leg. That was a little bit scary. So I'm gonna put musical chairs just so it reminds me of that. Another memory I have, a little happier, is that birthdays. We sing happy birthday to my girls and myself and my husband. A lot of family birthdays happen at that table. Another memory I have at that table is I remember the last time my grandmother was here, and she loves eating pie and dessert. And she sat here and ate a piece of pie, and that sticks with me because since then my grandmother's passed away. So that's a little bit of a sadder memory. But you can see just by zooming in on that one spot on my special place map, I was able to brainstorm and come up with all these memories. And then what I can do next is I can pick one and tell the story of that time. So I think maybe I'll think about the homework one. And then I can just tell the story. So last time my girls did homework, my older daughter was trying to teach my younger daughter how to do math. And my older daughter was explaining, and my younger daughter kept telling her, nope, that's not correct. That's not how my teacher taught me. And my older daughter said, yes, it is. That's how it is. That's correct. And my younger daughter then did the math and then was able to show my older daughter that that's not correct. Well, what had ended up happening was my older daughter was solving it one way and my younger daughter was solving it another. So in the end, they both kind of came up with the same answer. They just went about it different ways. So that's a story I could jot down real quick. So again, thank you so much for joining in. And remember, because writers come up with their own ideas and they write about what matters most to them, one thing you can think about when you're thinking about what am I going to write about, one thing you can think about are specific places. And today we went through one way to kind of sketch out a special place or a place where you spend a lot of time, pick one spot on that place, and then just start listing memories. And from there, you pick one and off you go. It could turn into a story, it could turn into a memoir, it could turn into a poem. The options are limitless. All right, thank you so much for joining in. Take care and we'll see you next time.